Amantha King with me today of Amantha King Coaching. So just to let you know, we are, and I'm just trying to get this all sorted out as we go, we're streaming across a number of platforms today. We're going live into LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, and of course, Facebook. So welcome, Amantha. Would you just like to quickly introduce yourself so that everyone knows who you are?
Oh, yes. Thank you, Carole. Thanks so much for having me on. So my name's Amantha King. I'm a strengths coach. So what is a strengths coach? I maximise performance and potential for individuals so that they can be the best version of themselves in their businesses and outside of their businesses. We do this by looking at your strengths, at your values, combining those together to supercharge your confidence and clarity around what you're doing and to reduce the resistance that may be appearing in your life. So that's what we do at Amantha King Coaching.
That's brilliant. Thank you. And just so everyone knows, Amantha is one of my coaches. So I'm really delighted that she's been able to give us her time this morning because she's very much in demand. So Amantha, before we get into all the questions around values that I've got for you, the first question I would like to ask you is all around purpose. So how important, as a business owner, how important is it to know your purpose for your business and maybe your life as well before you start to work on your values? Is it important that you do one before the other, or does it not really matter?
It's such a good question because we see the word purpose and values here, there and everywhere, don't we? Now I've got two trains of thought to this. Now, I thought of a metaphor. Your purpose is like your favourite holiday destination or your favourite restaurant, right? That you love to go to because when you're there, you feel amazing. Now, your values are like the super fast highways that get you to your favourite restaurant or destination. So here's the thing. You might not have your purpose, but you might have your values. But that's a bit just like going on nice journeys, not really going anywhere. So for me, the purpose is always important. That's about the destination. Where do you want to be? Now that translates into goals in your personal life and your professional life. So yes, Carole, I think purpose is really, really important. There's no point just driving around. We need to know where we're going.
And just to follow on with that, does your purpose change then? Because once you get to that destination, is that it? Or do you then start to build that purpose out? Or is it a case of you've got to make your purpose big and juicy to start off with?
Again, I mean, I think this is what's so brilliant about it. First of all, just get started. It might be one restaurant you like. It might be multiple restaurants you like. And the same in the metaphor of holiday destinations. But I think you can do both. And I like the idea of just get started. And once you get to your purpose can be very broad. We normally say your purpose is something very simple like, I want to be a successful business person. I want to be a winner. I want to I want to just grow my business even more, or I want to just be successful. You then might get to that point and go, actually, as you said, you just want to squeeze it out the other side, left and right, and go, okay, now how else can I use this? I would say it rarely changes. My purpose in life is to help people. That's not changed in 10 years.
Yeah.
What's become interesting is how I go about that.
Yeah,
so
very
the purpose stays the same, but the way in which you deploy it could be quite different.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I could talk to you more about that, but I want to keep on track because I know we've got a limited amount of time. So why is it important as business owners that we have values? And as you know, I'm all about selling and helping my clients to sell and to sell in an authentic way. So how does having your values also help when it comes to selling? So why is it important? And then how does it help you to sell better?
Okay, so again, using that metaphor of roads and taking journeys, your values give you direction. It makes it very clear to you that you have, I mean, we work to the values of 5. Some people choose to have more than that, but I think 5 is manageable. I'm really saying to business people, we're giving you 5 different ways and 5 different combinations of how to get to your goals. So I think it gives that clarity to business owners. It definitely gives that focus. You start to sort of shelve things that aren't going to positively resonate those values, and you just get really, really clear on what you're doing. So the other reason it's important, why? Because businesses, you can connect with your values, and by connecting with your values, you then start to attract people who also have those same values. So it's like casting a very big net into the ocean, but you only want a certain type of fish. Your values will draw the right people to your business. So you can make your products relevant, you make your messages relevant. Actually, it just makes life ever so much easier in business, I would say, Carole.
Brilliant. Sorry, I'm just putting my phone away so it's not a distraction, because I can see the internet is coming in and out. Breaking out in a sweat here, everyone. So now I have worked on creating my own values with you on a subconscious level, and it was an amazing experience. So I would really like our audience to understand why creating your values on a subconscious level is so important, and the difference that it makes compared to creating them on a conscious level.
So that's such a good point, and I'm really glad you raised it, because a lot of people can sort of sit down and go, okay, I think I know what my values are. It's got to be something around being successful. I've got to be profitable. There are 3 things at play here, and I'll just take you through them briefly. Number 1, I think it's the fact that our conscious brain and our unconscious brain tend not to communicate so well to one another. And it's a bit like having an adult, which is your conscious brain as a metaphor, or your unconscious brain is like a 7-year-old. So 7-year-old and adult, communication could be a bit clunky. And what tends to happen is, the first issue is the unconscious brain is all about goal getting. It loves to get a goal, like a 7-year-old would be, terribly enthusiastic. But when you've got your logical brain trying to interact, that is very much about, well, hang on a minute, I want to set the goal. I want to set the goal, and I want to make it very logical and very specific. The third thing that comes into play is our fears, our safety mechanisms, and that's what I call the resistance. So it's really interesting that when you work on a subconscious level, what you do is you get to deal with each of those things: the logical brain, the unconscious mind, and the safety issues. And by doing it at an unconscious level, you get to the heart of what's really going on for that person. You just sort all the nonsense out. And then what you do is you just come with a collective message that the logical brain loves, the unconscious mind loves, and your safety is dialed right down because there isn't a threat.
Yeah. I mean, I've done that with you, working on the subconscious level, which I absolutely loved. And of course, the values that you get are so inspiring for you. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks about them. For you as the individual, it's so inspiring. And for me personally, it's a lot easier then for me to decide, funnily enough, do I want to work with this person? It's not, I just want to sell you something. I want to make sure that actually what is being demonstrated, even in that maybe short 1 or 2 conversations that we have, is that it's playing into my values, because that is what's going to make me go even further for my clients. And when that comes together, the actual work that you do with your clients is so inspirational, I find, anyway.
Oh, that's fantastic. And that's exactly it, isn't it? It's that clarity piece that I talked about right at the beginning. Yeah. Things come into focus. And when things come into focus, we're not fearful. We just get on with it and embrace it. And we're having a great time whilst we're doing it.
So how do your values then help with your decision making?
Okay, so that's really important, because your values provide what I think are really good boundaries. And And if we're on this road as a metaphor, we know that actually if I go too far that way, I'm going to go onto the hard shoulder when maybe I don't want to. If I go too far this way, I might be getting onto the central reservation, and all of those things are going to slow us down. So actually, by staying focused on your value, so if I pick one, for example, if it's around integrity, you know, I don't veer left and right. You know, I'm not going to put my value of integrity in jeopardy by pulling too far onto the hard shoulder or into the central reservation. I'm going to stay very true to it because that's going to get me to my goals. So I think it gives really good structure that you don't need to think about because it's all just unconsciously within you. You just need to turn up every day and go, part of what I'm about is integrity, and the rest just happens.
Brilliant, brilliant. So this next one, I've just sort of like got to read a little bit because it's quite a big question. So when your values or our values are aligned with the work that we do, your energy creates a bigger impact. So can you just tell the audience why this is and how it supports you when you come for selling and marketing your business?
Yeah, really good point. Because when we don't know our values, we live our life probably in equal measure with positivity and resistance. You know, there are days where we just get up and we're really certain about what we're doing. And then there are moments where we just doubt ourselves and just go, oh, okay. And what I liken that to is when you have your values, you have an abundance of positive energy, like in abundance, like huge. When we have resistance, it's like it's just draining. It drains a lot of energy from you. And like a battery, you know, when you put a battery in, you want to have the maximum power available to you. So what I say to people is, when you notice the resistance in your life, now that could be procrastination, that could be avoidance, it could be, do you know what, I'm just not putting myself out there. You know, the logic is telling me this is a great idea, but for some reason I just cannot get beyond it. What I would say to people is that is the signal that it's probably a good time to start doing your values work, because the resistance will go, and what replaces it is this, like I say, this positive landscape of I've got my 5 routes to achieve these goals, and that's what I'm going to focus on. So I think energy is so important in business, Carole. It's so important in our personal lives, and it's a great barometer. You know, energy is like tiredness. If you feel mentally tired about your business, then this is a time to get clear on your values.
And so just to clarify, if you're noticing resistance is coming up, that's probably a key indicator that you're not in alignment with your values.
Yes, so thanks for bringing that point up. So what we know, so even when people do have their values and they're very excited and off they go, because the brain is hardwired to just keep doing what it's always done, it's going to take a bit of time. And again, that in itself is a bit of resistance. So what we need to do is we just need to keep coming back and keeping on that road and challenging ourselves and going, well, actually, why am I doing that? And it's probably because it's easy.
Yeah.
And we know what easy gets us. Doesn't always get us what we want more of. So actually, by positively challenging, and I talk to my clients about what I call unconscious competence. Unconscious competence is where this becomes so second nature to you, you don't actually have to think about it. But having come from a place of not knowing your values, we do have to go through a little bit of positive reinforcement. And that's where we have to consciously think about it every single day.
Brilliant. Thank you, Amantha. So how do your values impact the relationships that you build with your existing and your future clients?
So I do an exercise with clients which looks at particularly relationships, because as we know in selling, Carole, relationships are fundamental to our businesses. And what most people don't know is, as human beings, we all have a radar unconsciously on our head, which is all the time scanning for values. It's just looking for people like me. I'm looking for people like me. And I'll just give people an awareness of that, which is that, have you ever walked into a room and you've met someone and you just think, oh my goodness, I just feel like I've known you forever.
Yeah.
You know, you do feel quite spooked by it.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, now that's the positive. Now we all know there's the opposite side of that, where you meet someone, you just think, someone needs to get me out of here really quickly because this just feels horrible. Okay. And that is non-values alignment. So when you get that feeling of, I feel like I know you, that's something to explore. Now, to attract people, what you can do is put your values out there. You know, by talking in a certain way, by being very aware of what your values are and how they show up for you, that transmits to the person in front of you, I'm about this value, that value, that value. And that person goes, really like that person. I could do business with that person.
Yeah, because you're living your values all the time. So even though we're in this digital world, and like for the past year, the majority of us have been working online and we haven't been meeting face to face. If we're still working and coming from a place of our values, we're still attracting people. They're becoming interested and curious about us and wanting to get to know us more.
Completely. And that's the thing, we are on transmit all the time, and I think that's a really important thing for people to remember. In the spoken word, in the written word, in your body language, you are transmitting your values 100% of the time.
So a big question now, well, I think it's a big question, and I think it's something that's not really talked about a lot, which is that you know, I don't believe personally in giving somebody a piece of paper and saying, here's a list of words, choose, you know, tick all the words that, you know, resonate with you, then whittle it down to 10, then 5, then 3, then 1, and you've got your values, you've got your top 1 value, your top 3, top 5, whatever. Whereas the work that we've done, it goes into a much deeper level, and I just think it's absolutely brilliant. So for me, I'm not a big fan of that because I think it's just a tick box exercise. And then you end up with a set of values that doesn't really mean anything. You don't feel it. So what happens when you get your values wrong?
Yeah. I think of a caged bird. You feel constrained, caged in. It's actually worse than not knowing your values, actually, because if you think about what we've just said, it's like being taken to the destination that's a complete nightmare for you. You know, you've got these 5 roads going to places you don't really want to go, but you feel like I can't get off them now. And what you know, and this is what I say, and I always leave my clients with values, as you know, Carole, for a period of time. And I say, try them on like a glove.
Yeah.
See if they fit, see if they work for you. So when we come back to the point about picking from a pick list, what's actually happening there is that very adult part of you is going, right, what sounds good? Let me just make a note, you know, which of these sounds impressive? And then what tends to happen is they just don't live up to your expectation. And values alignment is such an intuitive process. Do you know, we have got brain cells in our heart and in our gut. And when we are made, do you know, it's our gut that forms first before our brain tissue does.
Wow.
So intuition, which is where your values come from, is critical. It's how you know when you're making a good decision, how you know when you're making a bad decision. So yeah, always go for doing it intuitively rather than logically, is what I would say.
Brilliant. Thank you, Amantha. So I'm just going to let you have like a little sip of water or whatever, because of course we agreed that I'd reset the room every so often. I forgot because we were talking, it was so interesting. So just to let everyone know, I'm interviewing today the amazing Amantha King from Amantha King Coaching. So please do go and check Amantha out. You can connect with her on LinkedIn. She's also got her YouTube channel, and we are broadcasting across all the platforms today: LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. If you've got any questions, please put them in the comments and we will definitely come back and have a look at them and answer them for you. And if you are on my YouTube channel, please hit the subscribe button. We love having new subscribers. So right, on to our next question, Amantha. As business owners, your personal values and the values for your business can differ. Now, how easy is it for people to switch between these two?
Okay, so that's another great question, Carole, because the human brain doesn't like loss. So it doesn't process the word loss very well, like weight loss. Weight loss is such a big issue for people because the brain doesn't like loss. And when it goes to the values process, what happens is the logical brain goes, hang on a minute, we're only picking 5. What about all those other ones we could have had? And so what starts to happen is it's that worry or it's that concern. But what I always say to my clients is, you know, if we think of the word honesty, Carole, which is a value, and I should probably say to people, a value is something you cannot pick up. So you can't pick it up. So my heart, if that was money, well, that wouldn't be a value because I can pick that up. But a value will often be traversing both of your sets of values. I mean, you can have 3 sets of values: business, relationship, personal. And I advocate that people should do all 3 because then we've captured the whole person. But what we know for some people is one value will appear in all the sets. They may not be called exactly the same thing, but they will appear in all the sets. So when we think about honesty, some people might say, well, actually, integrity is also important to me. Well, that could fit in, but still be linked to honesty. So I always say to people, and we test this out, and it's called chunking up. You chunk up and you find out where that value exists in your other sets, and it always does exist somewhere. And that's the thing. And people just need to know that these values are intuitive to you. Your brain works it all out. It doesn't leave anything behind that's of value to you. Quite literally, it brings it all with it.
Brilliant. Now, this might be a little bit of a difficult question to answer because I'm thinking, I wonder how people do know. But, you know, as a business owner, how does our audience know that we are living our values? So what would we expect to see or hear or feel in the way of feedback from our audience or interaction back from our audience that makes it clear that they understand what our values are? They may not consciously think about it, but there is sort of like maybe some unconscious behavior going on that says, yeah, I know what that person's value is.
Yes. So again, you know, when we think about communication, 93% of it is body language. Okay. And only 7% is in the words. So the words become really important, and you can have your values singing off any page of marketing and your business card, but much more importantly, it's your interaction with you. You can showcase your values at absolutely every turn, and it will come into how you greet people, how you interact with them, how you deal with problems or negotiations or complaints. Even you can do so much in your business. In basically, for all the time you're speaking or typing, your values can be coming out. And definitely, I would say to people, on all your marketing material, in your mission statement, your vision statement, your values need to be alive. And for those businesses that say they have values but they don't translate into their actions, people's radars are scanning, going, you're not authentic, you're not living up to your values. So it's so important, you know, values take people on journeys, and that's what you do with your business. So it's about inviting people through your values to take that journey with you, so it can be absolutely everywhere.
And so then if you are, like, as a business owner and you're going to maybe take on a new client, or you're thinking about taking on some new clients, how can you tell if your prospective client shares your values? What would be the cues to you as the business owner that they share some of your values? What would you expect to maybe see or hear or feel?
Yeah, okay, so really important. As you know, Carole, what part of the process, what we do with a value is we ask, why is it important to you? And that's a really important question you can ask any business owner. You know, how do you like to do business? What's important to you about your business? The minute you ask that question, they're going to tell you some values.
Yeah.
So when we ask, it's a really good question for people to note down when we're looking to seek new clients or attract new clients. You know, what's important to you about your business? Or sit down and think about what could be important to that person about their business. And that's where you start to tease out these values. What you then do is you're going to be finding out from your client, how will you know that you've got that? So you say you want to provide value added service. Okay, how are you going to do that? And that's what shows the detail. So what values give you, remember, is that focus, that clarity, and that direction. And if you are talking your customer's language, what you're actually saying to them is, we can focus on this, we'll be clear about it, and we'll take you in the direction you want to go.
Yeah, and I love that. It's about having those some very simple, easy to ask questions that can immediately highlight, yes, we've got similar values, you know, without having to say outrightly, what are your values, you know?
Yeah. And the reason the reason we ask, what does that get for you, is different to saying, why is that important to you? Why is that important is a logical based question. When you ask, what does it get for you, you're uncovering motivation, which is values.
Yeah, very good. Great point there. So, Amantha, as humans, we are not static. We evolve and we change over time. So how often do we need to review our values? You know, so will our values change as we change? And therefore, how often should we review our values?
Yeah, it's another good question, Carole, and people do ask me that all the time. Again, because I think they think, oh, have I left something behind in choosing just these certain ones? And the reality is no. What I say to my clients is this. I say, if you've had the trial period with them and it all seems okay, those are your values. Something that could interact with them and necessitate maybe reviewing them is if you've had what I call an SEE, and that's a significant emotional event. So if something big has happened in your life, it could be loss of a partner, loss of a business, you know, anything major in your life, that may cause a bit of a reset inside of you. And I would say that would be a really good time to come back and check out your values. I have lots of clients who come back for a values MOT once a year. Yeah, a bit like you do your car. Yeah, like a bit like you do your car, and you just go, yeah, still okay. And sometimes people will ask, okay, I've got this really big thing coming up, Amantha, will these values be efficient and sufficient to get me that new thing? But I would say generally, if neither of those things have come up, I'd say once every 3 years.
Right. Okay, that's really good.
Yeah,
you know, that's a really good barometer, you know, well, a measure to go by. So, Amantha, the final question, and thank you for putting up with all the ins and outs of my internet. I don't know if anybody's seen that as we've been going along. I might have suddenly frozen. But for people listening, what is, you know, and some people may not have worked on their values at all. They might be new to business, or some people may have done it for years, but maybe haven't reviewed. What is the one thing that you would like people to take away from this interview today?
So I'm going to say it in one sentence, but it's just a multiple of things. But really, what I would say to people, if you would like more of something or less of something in your life, values is how you do it. Because what you get is you remove the resistance. Whatever that resistance is, the thing that's holding you back and stopping you, it removes that. But what it replaces it with is so much more appealing. It increases your focus, it increases your clarity, and it increases your energy to get you more of what you want and less of what you don't. How? By just using what you naturally have within you.
Thank you, Amantha. That was brilliant. So, Amantha, if anybody listening to this would like to connect with you, what's the best way for them to do it?
Oh, thank you, Carole. That's really generous of you to say that. So LinkedIn, I'm really proactive on LinkedIn. My YouTube channel, I put lots of free resources there covering a plethora of things to get you to be your best. I'm also on Clubhouse, so at Amantha King. So I've got a room there on Clubhouse, and Twitter. So I'm just about everywhere. If you type in Amantha, I'll pop up.
Yeah, because it's quite an unusual name as well, isn't it? You're the first Amantha I've ever met. Now, Amantha's just mentioned Clubhouse. Amantha and I are going to be doing a Clubhouse next week. So if you want to delve into this a bit more, please come along and join us. I'll also put a link to your LinkedIn, Amantha, on YouTube. So I just want to say once again, thank you so much. Thank you to everyone watching today and listening. And as I said, put any questions in the comments and we'll come back and answer them for you. Okay, take care, everyone, and bye for now.
Bye.